Hi, this is Brett Ingram, award-winning entrepreneur, and today I want to share with you 8 productivity hacks for busy entrepreneurs. The life of an entrepreneur is always a busy one. No matter what we're doing, we always feel like there's more that we could be doing. There are opportunities to explore, there are other tasks that need to be done. Even if we run a really efficient ship and a really tight business with very little waste or wasted time, the challenge is, even if the stuff that needs to get done it is getting done, we still always have other stuff that we could do in sort of our possibility bucket. But oftentimes we don't even get that far. As entrepreneurs, we have so much to do that oftentimes things that we intend to do in a given day get pushed off to another day and so on. And the problem with all of this is, if you really look at it and you consider it, the difference between an additional 10% in productivity on a given day, every single day, versus 10% less productivity is astronomical and exponential. So it's that old compounding thing where they always ask you, would you rather have a penny that doubles every day for 30 days or $100,000? And everyone says, well, I'll take the 100,000. And when you do the thing that doubles all the time, you end up with a lot more. And the idea is exactly the same with productivity. If we sort of fluff it off to, well, it wasn't really a productive day, but no big deal, I'll get back at it tomorrow. And then the next day comes and we were kind of good, but not really that great, and I'll get back to it tomorrow. The cumulative effect of that is over the course of, say, a month, even a week, but a month, 6 months, a year, is huge in terms of the lost productivity and lost opportunity. Whereas if we flip that on its head and we actually get more done, an extra 10% done every day, the amount additional that we can accomplish over the course of a year is phenomenal. So with that said, I want to share some hacks that we can use to try to be as productive as we can. Entrepreneurs often juggle multiple responsibilities, and we have to manage our businesses, we have to strategize for growth, we have to increase productivity, and we also have to manage our personal lives. So I'm going to give you some productivity hacks that are specifically tailored for entrepreneurs. So the first one is time blocking. This might be something that you've heard about or maybe not, but the fact is, science has proven that as human beings, we work better in short, sort of controlled, but focused blocks of time. When we try to work really, really focused for hours and hours, what happens is our mind starts to wander. We start to, forget and lose track of what we were thinking about. We can't really stay focused for that period of time. At the same time, if we are interrupted every couple of minutes, it takes a lot longer also to get things done. So basically, the best way to be productive in terms of getting things done is to work in specific blocks of time that run about an hour. So, 45, 50, 55 minutes at a time of pure focused work with all distractions shut off, the door locked, whatever, all alerts turned off and all of those other things, take the phone off the hook, work for 45, 55 minutes, whatever, straight through, and then take a scheduled break. When we work that way, we're able to get so deep into what we're doing that we become super effective and super productive. So working in time blocks is one very, very effective strategy. We're going to allocate specific blocks of time for different tasks, and we're going to work through it until we get it done or until the time expires. And what it helps us do is focus on one task at a time. We reduce distractions, and it increases our efficiency. And so basically, we can also sort of bundle tasks together. So let's say part of our day needs to be administrative. We've got to do emails, right? We've got to do, respond to this. We've got to open our mail and read it. We've got to, consider when we're going to schedule meetings. Okay, great. All that sort of superficial stuff can be done in one block of time at the start or end of the day or in the middle, whatever, and we can knock it all out. So it's not hanging over our head anymore. It's done, and we can move on. And then when we need to do something with more focused work, we can focus on that one task for the next 55 minutes and so on. So time blocking can really transform a chaotic schedule into a well-organized one really fast and easily. The second productivity hack is what's called the 2-minute rule. This was coined by some productivity expert, but the fact of the matter is, the idea is really, really simple. If there's any task that can be completed in 2 minutes or less, do it immediately. I think it was David Allen, actually, who popularized that. I want to give credit where credit's due. The fact of the matter is, the reason it's super effective is what happens as entrepreneurs is throughout our day, things keep getting added to our inbox, and oftentimes they get added to the inbox faster than we can process everything. So mentally, we end up with this sort of overhead where we start to feel overwhelmed by the number of things that need to be done. Yet the fact of the matter is, a vast majority of those, a lot of times, can be done really fast and easily. So if we can make a decision on something immediately, it's better to do that. If it's a task that's only going to take 2 minutes or less, do it immediately. Then it's done, it's off the list, and it converts from being mental overhead where we feel as though, oh no, I have all these other things I need to do that I just can't get to instead a feeling of empowerment because we're getting things done and we're actually making progress. As little as it is, those little wins make a big difference. Actually, yeah, I think David Allen wrote about that in his book, Getting Things Done, or his productivity method. And so that's a really effective way to do it. And it clears up small tasks that can pile up and become overwhelming so they don't become that. And conversely, what it does is it actually keeps us powered because it keeps us feeling motivated. When we spend a lot of time working on something, we don't complete it. We end up feeling discouraged by that. When we start doing things and getting them done, even when they're really little, and we cross them off our list, we start to feel really good. That motivates and empowers us to keep going. So that is a really surprisingly effective for maintaining a clear mind and manageable to-do list, because ultimately, part of the issue isn't just the physical clutter, but it's also the mental clutter. And that leads us to the next one, and that is create a clear workspace. Now, if you don't have an office, if you're working from home, I used to work in what we used to jokingly call the cloffice, because I literally had a big closet in my bedroom with a TV at the top, and I put a desk in there, and that's where I'd work. And so I would sit there and I would work at night, and I would work in the cloffice. But the thing of it is, when I had all this stuff to look at, and I had a messy work area, it was really tough. When I made the desk itself, I just had a little desk I got from like IKEA. And when I had that little desk, and that in and of itself was clear, the impact is amazing. It lets your mind feel free and clear. When you see clutter everywhere you look, it's distracting, it's discouraging, it's overwhelming in and of itself. So creating a workspace, it doesn't have to be a whole office. It doesn't even have to be a big space at all. It could just be your own little desk or a lap desk. But you want that to be totally clear. Same thing with your laptop. If you have tons of tabs open and tons of files on your desktop, organize it in a way that makes sense. Spend even a day if you need to. Get everything organized, because when we're organized, we work much better. We're more efficient, we're more productive, we feel better about things, and it's far easier to get things done. The next thing that we want to do, and this may or may not apply, but it's really important and worth noting, is to limit meetings or interactions. And I'll put them both in the same bucket. Because if we work in an office and we have, or even if we work from home and we have a staff or we have team or whatever, we may have meetings where we need to go over things. And that's fine. But meetings should have a very strict agenda, and they should start and finish. It shouldn't be about connecting about what was on TV last night and all that other stuff. The social element of working on a team is very important, and I'm not minimizing that. But in the context of the work environment, we don't want to waste time doing that because it distracts everybody. It gets everybody off on a different track. And we all have been in a situation where we've been in a meeting and we went into the meeting excited with lots of stuff that we wanted to get done. As soon as that meeting ended, we were going to break and we were going to go hit it hard. And what happens is you're in the meeting and the meeting just starts to drain your energy. And by the end of the meeting, you're sort of like, okay, yeah, now I just want a pillow. I just want a nap. What was it that I was going to do again when I got done? So we waste another 20 minutes over at the water cooler or whatever, or taking a personal call. And before you know it, now it's time for lunch. And so we haven't gotten anything done. So we want to limit meetings, and I'm going to put in that same bucket social interactions, whether they're on the phone, whether they're in person, whether they're on Skype or WhatsApp or text messaging or whatever. Limit all of that stuff. Once again, if it's something we can respond to really quickly, we can triage it. If it's personal, fine. If not, table it and do it later. But we don't want to spend a lot of time that just saps everybody's energy in the same at the same time with pointless meetings where we're not covering anything. Have an agenda, stick to the agenda, crank through it, and then move on. And so we want to also limit meetings to essential and keep them really short and to the point. If you have a staff and you want to do a 20-minute check-in once a week, that's valuable. Maybe it spills over into 30 minutes if it's a long one once in a while. But you don't need to meet with your people every single day for 20 minutes a piece or everything else. We want to also teach everybody that we're working with how to be problem solvers and not just come and dump all of their problems on your desk every time they have one. One of the things that I had in the very first business that I ran, and I was sort of naive and I was inexperienced, is I had a staff of 7. And I was so good at what I did that everybody would come to me for advice. And at the time, it made me feel good. It made me feel important. In retrospect, I realized that because I was the bottleneck, nobody could get anything done without me. So the fact is, if I wasn't at work or I wasn't in the office or I wasn't accessible, everything ground to a halt. That's a terrible way to run a business. You need to teach everybody to be self-sufficient, independent problem solvers. And that's a really valuable way to set it up. So meetings, keep them simple. Consider using stand-up meetings if we need to, because no one wants to stand for a long time, and that will get people to move through the agenda really, really fast. The next hack is to automate wherever we can. There's never been a better time to start automating all the things in our business, especially now with AI. There's so many productivity tools and software out there that allow us to automate things. Now, there may be a bit of a learning curve. So it might be take a step back to take 5 steps forward. The first couple of days, we might need to research what AI options or automation options and tools are out there. Then we might need to try a couple. We might need to start to implement one. I went through this when I was trying to streamline my podcast video production, right? I was doing it all myself. And then when I wanted to get somebody else to do it, I could try to teach them the way I was doing it, but I was using 3 or 4 different tools. It was all stuff that was intuitive that I already knew, but I recognized it wasn't a very efficient process. And to teach that to somebody else was probably not the smartest way. So it cost me 2 or 3 days. But I evaluated a few other tools. I found one I really liked, and I found a way to use it to create all the different elements that I needed. Then I created the training videos for how to do that. So now I have a process in place that not only can anybody that I hire use, but if that person ever leaves or needs to be replaced, I can very easily bring in somebody else and they can hit the ground running because I have a process for it. So super valuable to automate wherever we can. There's a lot of administrative stuff, email inbox managers, automated text-to-speech things, transcript, whatever. That will automate a lot of the tasks that we need to do. And so it's super important to use technology to our advantage whenever and wherever we can. It'll help us streamline operations. It also, by the way, will really help reduce costs. So we can use project management tools, we can use time management apps, and all these other kinds of things. And the key to it is to understand there's going to be a bit of a learning curve and a bit of a step back for multiple steps forward, but we don't want to get caught in the weeds where we're overcomplicating it or trying to integrate too many tools at once. We integrate one, we get it up and running, then we add the next one. And that's exactly how we do it. So that way, we never get so stuck in the weeds that we lose tons of productivity at a given time. We take a little step back, multiple steps forward. Then we take a little step back from there, multiple steps forward. Each time we do that, we're going to get more and more productive. So Choose tools that genuinely make the workflow smoother and that work for you intuitively based on your business model and just your preferences in terms of the way that you work. Another key thing that's sort of along the lines of automation, and the reason I did automation first is I recommend we start with that. It's the cheapest, most automatic way, and it's the most controllable. The other step to that, though, or the other side of that coin, is delegate and outsource. If we have a team, we need people around us we can trust. If we don't trust them with the jobs that we could give them, we either need to replace them or train them. There's no point in having a team around us if we don't give them stuff that needs to be done, if we end up doing all the stuff ourselves anyway. So we want to delegate if we have a team, and we want to give away as much as we possibly can to maximize everyone else's productivity and clean our plate as much as we possibly can. If we don't have a team or everyone else is already capped out, another great option is outsourcing. And what's brilliant about outsourcing is that if we have ad hoc tasks where we don't want to hire somebody because it's only going to last for 2 or 3 weeks for this project and then it's going to be gone, that's a great way to be able to outsource. And once we find somebody who's really good at graphic design or video editing, we don't need to hire them full time, but we can go back to them every time we have another project and know that they're a reliable source who's going to be able to do it for us. I did that with a voiceover guy for years. I didn't use him all the time, so I wasn't going to hire him, but he was really good. So I went back to him every time I needed another voiceover, and I knew that anytime I needed voiceovers, that element of the job was done for my video sales letters and such. So we can delegate, and we can also outsource. We can post jobs on, find gigs on Fiverr, we can post jobs on Upwork.com, and we can get other people to be able to do that work for us. And that is very, very powerful when it's lower level things or repeatable things that somebody else is going to be able to do, or even higher level things that we don't have a level of expertise in. If it's going to take us longer to learn and it's going to take us away from the core of what we should be doing, we're better off to be able to outsource or delegate that. And so that is a very powerful way to start to build that productivity so we can focus on our strengths and do only the tasks that are necessary for us to perform that give us a competitive advantage. Everything else we want to give to somebody else who could do it better or more efficiently. Another thing, and it might seem counterintuitive, is to take regular breaks. We have to recharge. We work best when we work in focus blocks and a break. Focus blocks and a break. The key is schedule the breaks in so they're deliberate, and that's where we do our scroll the social media, respond to friends on text, make that phone call, back to our friend to talk about how great the game was last night, whatever else. But make sure that they are also timed just the same way that our blocks of work are. So if it's a 5-minute break this time, 5 minutes, then we're done. We don't want to make a phone call because we aren't going to be off the phone in 5 minutes. If it's a 15-minute break, or we're going to go to lunch, great. We've got longer time. Now we can pick up the phone, make that call, do whatever it is that we need to do. But take scheduled breaks. It's super important to be able to do that, because the fact of the matter is when we take those breaks, it recharges us, re-energizes us, and gets us back to that high level of performance. It also prevents burnout and keeps our mind fresh because we get a break from what we were doing, then we go back. Another productivity hack, which sounds maybe counterintuitive, is to prioritize your health. And diet and sleep are the most important, and exercise as well. We want to get out in nature. We want to do some exercise. If you like to go to the gym, great. If you want to go for a jog, even if you go for a walk and take your dog around the block. Some kind of physical exercise every single day, preferably 30 minutes to 45 minutes or more if you can. If you can't, 15 minutes, whatever. But also sleep is vitally important. When we sleep well, we wake up feeling refreshed. Every obstacle seems smaller. We have a higher level of energy. We have a higher level ability to cope with challenges and work through them. And we can get more done in less time. Connected to that is a healthy diet. There's nothing wrong with eating fast food sometimes, but the fact of the matter is we want to, in general, focus on having a healthy diet, cooking more, eating more whole foods than processed foods. And those things all really are important. We can also do mindful stuff like yoga or meditation or any of those other kinds of things that sort of recharge the mental batteries and allow us to operate at our best, because we are better off to work a 6-hour day at our peak level of efficiency than to work a 10-hour day at 50%. It's just that simple. And the last one, productivity hack, and this is also very important, is the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle. It basically says that 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts. When we look at our to-do list, we may see tons of different things that need to be done. But if we're honest with ourselves, we can rank those things in terms of importance. Some are very low leverage. They might be satisfying or enjoyable to do, but if they don't move our business forward, they're far less important. We want to focus on those core activities where the vast majority, that 20% of the stuff that's really going to move the ball down the field by using it and by doing it. And so those are the things that we want to focus on. What is going to produce the most significant results? And we want to focus the most energy on that. Everything else we want to try to automate, delegate, or eliminate, or at least save that for lower leverage times. Late in the afternoon when we're not at our best, but in our peak productivity hours, we want to crush the stuff that really, really matters. That is going to help us drive our business forward. When we implement these productivity hacks, right, it's going to really help entrepreneurs effectively manage our time, prioritize our tasks, and ultimately lead our businesses toward greater success. So the takeaway here is that we all would like to be able to get more done in less time. And for entrepreneurs, time can literally be money. So it makes sense to get as efficient and productive as we can possibly be. By automating, by delegating, and by outsourcing what we can, that already will make a big difference in our daily time. If we add on to that, using the time that we have on the highest leverage and most impactful tasks and operating at our best and working the time in a high productivity state, we can really see a tangible difference in the quantity and quality of what gets done. That in turn helps us reach our goals faster.